Hello and welcome to the 7th class of the series on how to create a game using TypeScript and Three.js. In this video we will expand the concepts we have learned so far in order to create an explosion effect every time the tank shoots. As usual, this lesson continues where the previous one ended and the source code is going to be available on the video description. We will be using a lot of random values when we are creating effects. This is why we will create some helper functions. The first function will help us change the sign of a number with a 50% chance. We will create another function that will return a random number considering a minimum and maximum value. Now that we have the helper functions, we can create the shootEffect class, which will also extend from GameEntity. Extending from GameEntity allows us to make use of the lifecycle we have created on previous lessons. This class will have an angle property which will determine the direction on which the fire particles will fly. We will also create two meshes to contain the fire and smoke particles. The final properties will be the size of the effect and the total duration of the animation. In this case, it will be 1 second. The load function will be a lot more interesting this time. Besides loading assets, we will randomize the effect to make every instance look different. The only geometry we will use is a dodecahedron. This will be used on every particle and will create a very distinctive look to the game. Since the effect will have both fire and smoke, we need two materials. Notice we will set the smoke material to support transparency. To create the fire and smoke particles, we will make use of the helper functions we created before. Having a random number will make every effect different. We will create the fire particles first. Adding a small variation on the direction will make the fire cover a cone shape. This will make it a little bit more realistic. We will also randomize the speed of each particle and we will store these values on the mesh user data object. Now that we have the particle, we can add it to the mesh containing every single fire particle. For the smoke, we will create every particle randomizing their position a little bit. Like with fire, remember to add every particle to the container mesh. Finally, we need to add both particle containers to the GameEntity mesh, which is the one that gets rendered. It is time now to work on the update method. The first thing we need to do is to update the duration of the particle and check if it has ended. If this is true, we will set the entity so it can be disposed of. If the effect has not ended, we will update each particle. Fire particles will fly from their starting point following the random angle we set. We will use the same method we have used before to calculate the movement and apply it to the particle. Besides moving each particle, we will reduce their size as they travel. We can use the duration as a scalar to make this simpler. It is time now to update each smoke particle. The effect is going to be very simple. We will reduce the opacity of each particle and move them upwards. Finally, we need to write some code to dispose the effect. Remember, they have a determined duration. Once the effects are done, we need to free the resources they have used. It's time to create the effect every time the tank shoots. Something I realized while making this video is I made a mistake on the last one. The shooting position needs to be moved a little bit to make it appear in front of the tank and not at the ground level. With the shooting position fixed, we can now instance the effect and add it to the game scene. And that's it! The tank will now create a new random effect every time a shot is fired. The effect we created is very simple and my goal is to show you how the basics are, so you can expand on it. In the next video, we will create a new effect which is going to be an explosion we will use when the bullet hits a wall or in the future an enemy. Until then, thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.